It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbin Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchi, and thanks a lot for joining us on another beautiful Sunday. Yes, I'd like to start the show this way every Sunday because I think we all need reminding of the fact that COVID-19 is still very real out there. The death toll continues to climb. We still don't have a clear picture of what the vaccines will look like with the Nigerian situation. So I think it's only fair that all of us do our part. Wear your mask, socially distance, stay at home if you don't have to go anywhere. We need to stay alive. For some sad reason now, a lot of people seem to know somebody or somebody who knows somebody who has died from this disease. It's getting closer and closer home for a lot of people, and I think we should be a little more responsible, and hopefully we can beat this in the long run. We're going to be starting the show today talking about entertainment, the music business, and weathering the, the coronavirus and lockdowns and how the new normal will be looking like for the industry in 2021. I'm joined here now by Godwin Tom, who's a music executive. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, sir.
You have been in this industry for quite a while. Have you seen anything like this?
No, I don't think.
Seen in the last year.
I don't think anyone has seen. Maybe unless you were alive in the 1918s, in 1918. But I don't think any of us have seen anything like this since.
For those in the music industry, the artists and all of that, a lot of people have been trying to pivot a little. We saw a lot of albums come out last year because people had a lot of downtime and spent time at home or in studios. So there was like an album every other day. But for music execs like you, who are used to running careers, what has been different, looking at how you run the business now?
Well, for most music managers, you don't earn a lot of money from royalties.
Yeah.
So when music is released, you're not particularly making money. You're making money from business that's generated. So a lot of us have had to look inside to figure out new ways to not just generate money for our clients, but also to generate money for ourselves.
Yeah.
I became an author. I sort of accelerated my training program. So obviously, because I couldn't do physical events, it was online, and the memberships exploded. So we've had to find new ways to generate revenue. For artists, you're looking at, okay, what are the new norms? And, you're doing live events now, you're...
Live online events.
Online events. You're figuring new ways to identify who your real fans are, collecting their data and finding ways to engage them. So it's changing, so it's changing. Now direct marketing is to sell directly. It's no longer hoping that they'll stream, but actually selling, because a lot of those streaming services give out their services for free.
Yeah. So in a place like Nigeria, where we know that there's conversations about the fact that data is still not particularly reachable for the masses, it must be harder here, isn't it?
It is. It is harder. It is harder. And that's why I said you identify out of my 1 million followers on social media, or whatever you have, do I have 2,000 that will give me 20,000 every year? And, this is the time when you start looking deep. Into the followers.
Yeah. Let's go to Folus Thomas, who's joining us online. Folus, thanks for joining us. I want to talk about, you are a media personality. You see things from a different perspective, of course, from Godwin. How different have things been, especially with your interaction with musicians, and particularly, what do you see being different in 2021?
Hi, everyone. I think this is really a time for people to lean on their multiple skill sets. What I've noticed is that the regular streams of income, or the things that people were used to happening, especially with musicians, where it's live shows and performances, obviously that's completely out the window, and it's an unprecedented time in human history. But what has definitely stuck out to me is people who have those multiple skill sets, people who've not been afraid to be a jack of many trades, are kind of doing a little bit better in this new normal, is what we're calling it. So looking at musicians, I think also a little bit like what Godwin is doing in terms of diversifying, looking a little bit more at whether it's a book deal, whether it's, courses, whatever it is, people who already had started moving in those different directions are finding ways to pivot. And that's what moments like this in history do. They present very challenging opportunities, but opportunities nonetheless to see where else and in what other direction you can grow. And it's very interesting seeing the musicians that are finding a way to continue through this period, but it's definitely quite different and definitely very challenging for everybody.
Yeah, definitely challenging. And I wonder, because 2020 came as a shock or a rude shock to a lot of people. I was recently reading, I buy this magazine, The Economist, every year where they give an outlook of the year, the world, what to expect in 2020. And nothing, even from The Economist, prepared them for what happened last year. 2021 is a little different. We're more aware now. Do you think the artists are really prepared for what's happening or what's to come this year? Or is there even a way to plan for this?
I think if there's anything that 2020 showed us is that, you can plan as much as you like, but what's going to happen is going to happen,
Yeah.
Where 2021 will test people is to see who's been paying attention to the lessons that came out of 2020. As you said, yes, 2020 at the beginning of it was a bit of a shock, but let's not forget that this is a virus. And if we look at the history of the world, and we're talking about COVID-19 pandemic or COVID-19 2021 and beyond, is going to be here for a bit of time before the vaccines can sort of circulate and go out. So people, if they haven't started learning from last year and saying, okay, maybe some of this crazy long-term planning doesn't really work, but looking a little bit more short-term, what's working? What are people looking for? As much as internet access is challenging for us over here on the continent, and maybe specifically in Nigeria, looking at power and a number of these other issues, it is there. And people are spending more time online. They're spending more time viewing. There's definitely a demand for content. Content viewing at home is a big thing. So it's just really watching and seeing whether people are learning.
Yeah.
This is lesson time. So pay attention to the lessons apply. It's really as complex and as simple as that.
All right, I'll come back to you, Fudu. Let me come back to Godwin now. Sort of same question. I don't know. Is there a way to prepare differently for 2021? Because, like I said, 2020 nobody saw it coming. Or do you agree with her that there's really no point planning? Because at this point, we'll just
I think,
take things as they come.
I think one way I would see it is, even though 2020 was unexpected, you don't prepare for war during the war.
Yeah.
So you prepare before. Anything could happen. And I don't think a lot of people prepared themselves at all for anything last year. A lot of businesses spent as much as they earned, including mine, making a lot of investments. This time you're a lot more careful about where your investments are going. You're a little more cautious. In investment, you have your massive risks you take. Less people are going to take a lot of risks. So, you look at those things and you're like, because you can't stop finding opportunities, you can't stop working. So none of that should stop. The only difference, now you need to be more clearer. Brands are going to be a lot more deliberate about what they want from artists, which would then force the industry to also become a lot more creative in how they're approaching brands. And so if we're able to crack solutions as an industry, we should be demanding for more, because if I can help you hit a bullseye, then you would rather work with me than pay 10 people to swing in the dark.
Yeah. I want to talk about record labels, because even before COVID hit, there was already conversations about the fact that record labels, especially in Nigeria, might not be that relevant anymore. Conversations that even started somewhat in America when people like Chance the Rapper did it all on his own and was becoming successful, had become successful. In Nigeria, you have that conversation had been bubbling. What do record labels really do for you? They invest so much, and there's always this record label artist battle that ends up happening. Now with COVID, you've had record labels who have invested so much, they've spent over a year now, nothing much in return. Do you think that's dying?
No. I think that there's a massive misconception when people talk about record labels. Chance the Rapper and a few other people, in most cases, are exceptions. If you check the actual people who are succeeding and making a ton of money, they're all under record labels. Record labels give you that cushion. Everybody wants to become a record label owner until they know how much it costs to run a label. And I think even with artists who say they want to become record label owners, they don't consider a lot of costs that they themselves incur. And you find it when you leave, then all of a sudden, that DSTV monthly subscription becomes a bit of a challenge for you. That regular expense on taxis and all of that, and people don't see those things, so it's expensive. The record labels give you that cushion to focus on your music while they provide the resources to do that. So I don't think that they're going to go out of fashion. Plus, record labels that exist in Nigeria, yes. If you look at the most successful artists, they had a system behind them.
At least when they were launching.
When they were launching, right? Everybody had a system behind. Well, a ton of them, most of them, had a system behind them, and that system was what helped them grow, gave them the free field to play and be successful, and had people taking shots on their behalf behind them. So I think it does work. The only thing we need to do is educate people a lot more on how it can succeed. Right, because there's too much emphasis on the artist as opposed to building a system. So if we focus more on building a system, then you can pass multiple artists through that system.
Folo, let me come to you, and I want to talk about the returns conversation, which of course we've touched on with regards to record labels, and I think we've had 2 female artists signed on recently to, I think, Davido, and of course Mavins as well have signed on 2 female artists. There's always a conversation of can the artist always completely pay back? And at a time like this, when businesses are struggling, especially music businesses, do you agree that it might be a dying format or formula?
I don't know that it's a dying formula. I think Godwin touched on something very important, but I'll sort of paraphrase it. What's the need for record labels is a need for structure, which most artists don't have. Most artists, or raw talent, let me put it that way, and it's just what a fact, most raw talent, especially when you look at the age demographic within which a number of the budding artists fall into, or the number of the superstars that we have at the moment, that discipline of structure is not there, which is why they also struggle when they move on to, I want to form my own label, Being Oga is tough. It's a lot of work. And that's where the record label structures are important. That's where they're useful. It's always nice to see signings of female artists and female producers. I know it's happening across a number of the labels. Even Aristocrat, I think, signed a female producer recently. Being biased and female, I would say that women tend to, whether they like it or not, have drilled into them the importance of a certain level of organization and structure. So that maybe could work in their favor. But going forward, indie does work. It just requires, just like entrepreneurship, a very determined individual, a very specific mindset, and the willingness to put in those long, awkward, unglamorous hours and to do the dirty work. And unfortunately, because of the context of the society that we're in, realistically, as well as what we glamorize here, artists are usually not willing to do that. So the place of the record label is present. And it's not even just here, to be honest, it's a global issue. But you see it quite a lot. What time are they getting up? What time are they getting to the studio? What time are they getting to work? Is there any set structure? And labels in a lot of ways can help with that structure. But also sometimes they don't.
I mean, I agree with you. I think record labels are important, but I just wonder why. I mean, Nigeria just seems to always be a peculiar situation. But I want to take the conversation a little away from just strictly music, and I'm going to come to you with the same question, but you first, Folu. What parts of the creative industry or entertainment as a whole are you excited about for 2021, considering all of the factors we have in play ahead of us? I mean, a lot of the comedians pivoted to strictly online skits and all of that last year. We had Basket Mouth, launch a YouTube show. There's people are doing different things, but are there parts of the industry you think will thrive really well this year? And why?
I think that the creative industry is going to thrive as a whole. It's just those, as I mentioned before, who have been willing to explore all these talents. As a creative or someone who has creative endeavors, coming into it, people will try and force you in one direction, one path. What are you? Are you on radio? Are you on TV? Are you a comedian? Are you a singer? Are you a this? What we're now seeing, because of the way the world is evolving, because of the way tech has enabled young entrepreneurial-minded individuals to leverage on their skill sets, there is so much scope for growth that it is really exciting. The enabling environment cannot be overlooked. And we know that outside of the pandemic, Nigeria went through an incredibly challenging and emotionally turbulent time towards the end of the year, last year in 2020. So how it affected the spirit of young people and their willingness to push in certain directions here at home, that's something to be debated. But I think overall, content creation, anyone who's creating content and is looking at different avenues of monetizing is going to do well. Maybe specifically also looking at audio content, looking at podcasters. There's so many young, opinionated, interesting individuals that did phenomenal things at the end of last year and are coming more into the limelight this year. So we're going to see a lot more creative thought flowing that way and people monetizing content in that direction. So that's what I'm excited to see, how much more power can kind of leave media houses and kind of go into the creative individuals. That would be cool. And how media houses can harness that as well.
Very, very interesting, because coming to you, Godwin, talking about that, I mean, streaming platforms, not music now, seem to they blew up last year. The Netflixes and Showmaxes and all of that, there seems to be a bit of a power shift now to a lot of those, platforms where you don't need to go to a cinema anymore. So it's things like that. What are you expecting 2021 to bring for the industry as a whole, you think?
I think 2020 has forced us to really think. And so in 21, everybody would be looking at new ways, new ideas, new processes. A few more tech companies are going to come up because I feel like a lot of the tech companies that have the resources to build solutions will build some solutions targeted towards the entertainment industry. So we would have a lot more live event platforms, online live event platforms. We're going to have a few more streaming platforms pop up this year. I already know 3 conversations coming up for people trying to set those up for Africa. But we're also going to have a boost in interest because a lot of the jobs that require physical presence are being removed. You have platforms that people can actually talk to a doctor online, pay a particular subscription. All these things are coming up and it will be the same. So I'm actually interested in seeing those things because, as she said, it decentralizes the power and it gives it to smaller individuals where they can then say, okay, I have this tool. I can reach 100 people, 300 people, and maybe 1,000 people reaching 300 people each is a lot.
What's going to happen to concerts? I miss concerts.
I think it'll come back. I think Corona is not going to be here forever. I don't think the virus is going to be here forever. I think it'll come back, and when it does, there will be a massive explosion. However, pending that time, people need to prepare. And as I said, build your audience. I think right now the focus for every creative person is to build their audience. So by the time you start having those physical events pop up, you're able to drive your audience to those events as opposed to then trying to start talking to them then.
Yeah. because a lot of artists have struggled in the last year. And I know people who have said, I haven't worked since March.
Yeah, but as I said, it's because, when you don't plan during the war, so a lot of people are suffering because things that they should have done prior to the pandemic weren't done. So when the pandemic came, they didn't have anyone to talk to. I know people who have 500,000 followers but can't get 1,000 to attend something or tune into something. So it's, those are the bigger issues for the businesses and the artists.
Well, thank you very much, Godwin. Thank you very much, Follow Storms, for joining us. Looking forward to a great year. I always say, and I really hold on to that, nothing can be worse than last year. So I just want to hold on to that and believe that it will be better. It just has to be, fingers crossed. I don't want to jinx anything. We'll take a break now. I'll be right back. Please don't go away. All right, welcome back now. It's time for us to switch up the conversation and talk with a legend. Even though I know she doesn't like to take that title, but she definitely is a pioneer by so many standards and levels. Word MC is here with me. I'm sure you know who that is. How are you doing?
I'm good.
It's so good to see you.
Same. Good afternoon.
Where did you go?
Happy New Year's.
What happened? Happy New Year's. I'm just... Where have you been?
I've been hibernating, in a manner of speaking. I just wanted to take that time off. And it also sort of took me to another realm as well.
Yeah. You left the country?
Yeah, I left the country.
Okay.
I think I wanted some...
When was this?
This is it's almost 4 years now.
Yeah.
I just wanted some sanity. I just wanted to just chill for a while, kick back, figure out what's next, where do I go from here. I had a very, very good run, but I wanted to now take it a notch further. But I was still undecided. Where exactly do I go from here? You know, I wanted to like do much more, diversify.
Yeah.
You know, not just get limited. I've always said that I'm someone that you cannot put in a box. You know, anything can happen at any. I liken my brand to a box of chocolates, to a coat of many colors. You never know what to expect.
Yeah.
So I just wanted that time off, and I think it's time to come out. It's come out.
Because I was like, oh, is she bored with music? It's just like, this is not fun. Because it happens to people where you love something so much, you feel like you've done everything. There's really no challenges left. So I thought that was one of the reasons. I also thought, okay, are there too many artists? And she's wondering, how do I fit in now to this space? Did that ever cross your mind?
No.
Because the industry is so different from when you started.
Yes, absolutely. You would always, Ebuka is Ebuka, Shola, Word MC is Word MC. You would always stand out, no matter what. You always stand out. You have your giftings are unique to you. Do you understand? And there was a personal thing as well. You know, as you know, Nomolos passed.
Yes.
And that hit me really, really hard. So I think I was at a very, very dark place as well in my life. Yeah. I just wanted that time off, you know, just to chill. And I found Jesus as well.
Oh, great.
My faith, you know. So, but I think that I'm at a point now where I know that, okay, it's time to come out of hibernation. I can feel it. You can sense it. It's called discernment. You can feel it. I came home. I've been home for like 2-3 weeks, and I know what the streets are saying from feedback, you know, feedback on the streets, feedback on Instagram. And it's amazing that this is such a brilliant time, because this forces you now to really go within, because times have changed.
Completely.
Now with COVID, everything, you know, you can't just go out there anymore to say you want to do events, you want to do a concert. So it's just amazing. Like I have this experimental appearance on the 28th of January. We're doing this Loud and Proud event called Femme Fatale with other female artists. So I want to see how that goes. You know, but I think that's the future. I've always said to people, that's the future. It's automation, it's technology.
We have to embrace it.
This is a time that gives you that opportunity. This is when you will really know, you know, who is the real, you know, creator or not. But I love it because it forces you to be creative. It challenges you. You just have to reach within and come with the goods.
So, I mean, you came back. Are you back to music?
I like that word.
Because, I mean, you said you're back. You've been around for 2 weeks, and, you know, you were hibernating. Are you just back to visit? Are you back to do music? You also say you found Jesus. Are you back to do gospel music? Are you still rapping? What does back mean?
I'm an artist. And in the same vein, I'm now a minister of the word as well. No matter what I do now, the heart of the Father, the heart of Jesus will always be present in what I do. Yeah. But that does not stop me from being who I am. When I hit that stage or hit wherever you put me on, you will still see that good old, you know, Dishala Word MC, mad energy, you know, that gifting will always be there. Do you understand? That doesn't stop me, you know, being who I am. And something that I've been dabbling in recently as well is I no longer want to limit myself to music alone. I'm experimenting with other things. And it's really funny. My first love has always been movies. So I'm writing scripts. I'm doing stuff. I appeared in a short movie in England last year. Something that they put together for, and it was like an intellectual project, you know. And I'm talking to a few brands right now as well. By the special grace of God, there's equity in that name, you know, Weird MC. And like I said, I'm prepared. I'm just pushing forward. I'm pushing forward. I want to engage with people.
I'm interested in this, you know, calling you're talking about. Are you a pastor? Are you?
Oh, no.
What does this calling mean?
Not a pastor. We all have a calling in our lives. Okay. You know, you're doing what you're doing right now, but it's leading you to a place of purpose. Okay. You might not pick up on it right now. We might not pick up on it at a particular point in time, but with time, it just unravels itself. You will know, okay, there's more to this. It's not just about me being on TV, or it's not just about me going on stage or doing music or writing songs or being in the movies. There's much more to it now.
Most people don't associate hip-hop with this calling, per se, when you're talking about church and Jesus. So how's that going to work for you?
Thank you very much. Hip-hop is a culture. Hip-hop is an art form. Somebody who is filled with the Spirit of God is now spitting lyrics but with a divine influence. So hip hop now becomes a platform to draw in the souls. Music is a gift from God, anyways. We're talking right now. Relationship is a gift from God, anyways. Do you understand? It would always, these things are things that exist within our space every time. It's just the way you look at it.
Fair enough.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
Music is a tool. Whatever we're given, they're tools.
Yeah. When did you get into the industry?
Man, it's been forever.
90.
My very first B-side single, "Wanna Make You Jack," we dropped in 1991.
Yeah.
1991, Island Avenue, 95, 97, Ijoya, Rio.
That's a long time. We're talking
Fiesta.
27, 28, 29 years.
So I've had the blessing to span over years, decades.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, at the time, people would like to say, oh, music was purer back then. Now there's a lot more money in it, What's your thoughts on where we are now musically as an industry?
I think there are people who are putting out pure music as well. I loved what Timi Dakolo does. Dekunle Gold, Simi, mature music. The lyrics are clean. They're ear friendly, children friendly. Of course, we have stuff as well that's on the other side of the divide. That's not to say that those kind of artists and what they do is not good, but and what I love, we've taken soundscapes and we experiment more now. I always told people that there was something very, very special about Burna Boy. I always told people, there was like, wait in this thing. I said, watch this space. This guy is going to shock everybody. And that's what's happening right now. You can see the evolution of Wizkid. You can see what's happening to Davido, Simi, Tiwa Savage. It's for me, it's just awesome, to look at. And there's so much more that I truly believe that's going to happen in this year, 2021. Yeah. Do you understand?
I mean, you turned 50 recently?
I don't know. I don't know where they got that from.
Is it a lie?
I saw it.
So was it wrong?
I saw it.
I've been honest, be serious.
I saw it.
My point is, okay, I mean, you've been in the industry this long.
Yeah.
There's the industry, especially in Nigeria, is associated with a lot of energy. We say this bang bang dim dim, all of this music that, Afro beats or whatever it's called. Do you worry about age being a factor with you coming back to an industry that is sort of high tempo these days? I
think that your gifting is your gifting.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be worried about. You have what you have. The Yorubas, there's something that people say in my Yoruba language. You have what you have, what you have. And there's space for everyone. You do you, I do me.
Yep.
Sincerely. And we even collaborate. So we complement one another. For me, I've always said it, age is a number. Just focus on your craft. Yeah. Get better. Dig down deep inside. Experiment, innovate. Do some other things. I'm working on a book. I want to tell my story. People have been saying to me, oh, you've got to do a book. You've had an amazing, journey so far. We would like to read, how did you get from point A to point B? What were your challenges? What are your wins? How did you overcome, stuff like that. So just keep digging into the kitty, and you remain. And there's one thing that's really, really important for me as well. Just be as authentic as you can be. People will always be drawn to who you are. You do not need to try and fit in. You created like that lane, that path. So people will always be drawn to you.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Do you think you get enough credit for, and I know you're a very modest and humble person, but I want you to answer this with all sense of honesty. Do you think you get enough credit for pioneering? Like you've said here, even you don't get put in a box. We're seeing women doing what you do now. There's Tenny, for example. People who are expressing themselves, not caring to conform.
Yes.
Do you think you get enough credit for that, for starting that sort of leading the way and opening that door for people? I don't.
But that season, I just believe that season will come. Just keep doing what you do.
Yeah.
You shouldn't do what you do because you want someone to say this or say that about you.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what you do. And there are people that walk up to me on the streets and show me that love. Do you understand? But everything is with time.
Yeah. Was it hard to do that back when you were doing it?
Oh, very hard, Ebuka. extremely.
Like
Oh
what
my
sort of
goodness!
things did you encounter?
Oh my goodness! Oh, sit down there, be in the background because we're used to you being familiar in the business and just being a background vocalist and blah blah blah, and it was different. Here I am, all shaven, no hair. This girl is Timberland boots, Allen Avenue, rapping, sitting on top of the bonnet of a car, outside the box kind of girl, mad energy on stage. It drove people crazy, and I loved it. Honestly, it was actually fun for me.
Yeah.
But I had already made up my mind. I was not going to be denied.
Yeah.
So Allen Avenue, want to make it Jack, then boom, Ijoya. So people had no choice.
So you said you're going to be doing other things besides music.
Yeah.
Acting, you said?
Acting, I'm writing a script. I'm not gonna give too much away. And I'm like investing in other things as well.
Yeah.
And I sincerely want to like put someone out there, maybe a group, a couple of artists as well and stuff like that. And I've always been somebody who really, really likes to work in the background as well. I've always paid attention to the business side of things, to the music business itself. It's not just about me going out there to perform. I've always kept an eye, stuff that goes on behind the scenes, publishing, stuff like that. I would love to have, seminars, one-on-one sessions with upcoming artists, show them the ropes, talk to them. This is what you do, this is how you do, royalties and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yes. But you're still going to be singing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a performer, true and true, honestly.
So, I asked that because money is always a conversation when you're talking about music in Nigeria, anywhere in the world anyways. But with Nigeria, the money conversation always comes up. And, we've seen a lot of artists here, especially from your generation, who at some point move away.
Yeah.
I mean, there's conversations about, finding people as Uber drivers in the US or people who were big-time stars here, they move abroad and just start in 9 to 5 or whatever it is. And you wonder, these people were hit makers. What happened to royalties? All of those conversations. People probably thought that was what was going on with you, but it's nice to see that, no, you just took some time off and you're back again. This royalties conversation of making money and earning a good living, as a creative, as an artist, how do we crack it? What do we do to, have a more sustainable conversation around that?
I feel like we all have to have a major sit down. I had this conversation with Ubi Franklin, a couple of months ago. We've gotten to that point where we have to just monetize everything we do. And then we also apart from that, we also have to educate people. Some people might think, why should I give you a royalty because I'm playing your music maybe at my bar or my club? This is why. This is what we do for a living. Yeah. A royalty will not be a bad thing to do. You've got all these T-shirts, you've got my face on your T-shirts, and you're selling those T-shirts on the streets. Oh, you don't go buy T-shirt, wear MC Joya. You've got my face on it. That's my face. I'm entitled to a percentage of that. If it says why, we could have a conversation. Do you understand? I feel like it starts with educating. Yeah. You have to educate first. Some people don't understand why they have to pay for certain things. Draw them close, have a conversation with them. This is a business. I cannot just waltz into your practice and expect that you treat me for free. You're a doctor. Yeah. You expect me to give you some money for taking care of me. It's the same with me. This is what I do for a living. Yeah. I go on that stage, I perform. I expect my synchronization fees, not just my performance fee. Because you're going to go and use that performance in, someplace else at some point in time. You're going to use it again on TV. You're probably going to merge it with a brand. You've collected, money. I'm entitled to a percentage of that money. So I really, really feel that it starts with educating people. That is so important. We need to start having these conversations.
It's very important because, like the conversation I had just before you came on in the earlier segment, talking about record labels and, business executives, these are the kinds of conversations that should be had.
Yes.
We've had a downtime now for a lot of creatives for about a year now.
Yeah.
If things like this existed where there was a buffer to say, okay, at least I can still sort of live a comfortable life while waiting for life to sort of resume. These are the kind of things that, and structure, we've talked about structure forever with entertainment here.
Yes.
And I wonder when it's ever going to start.
I believe that it would change because the mindset of people who are now coming into the business, they have a very, very different mindset, fresh people. I was quite surprised with the lady that you were talking to just before I came on. So I feel like a new set of hands are starting to come into the business. It was really, really cool to see what Gordon Tom, is doing right now. Yeah. Ubi's doing something. This guy's still out there grinding. Ife, Ife has always been that. He's always been someone who's like really advocated for that change in the industry. and by the special grace of God, I will be actively involved as well.
Yeah.
But I even feel like it's better right now. I feel like this generation, they're just having a ball, man. They're having a ball, in comparison to what we had
you guys went through.
what we had to put up with. So, but the future, in my opinion, is really, really bright.
Yeah. Who are you
That's
really
what I feel.
excited about in the industry now?
It's Tenyo. I love Tenny so much.
She is interesting.
I love Tenny so much, and it's really, really funny. I love her sister as well.
Yeah.
I like Nidiola as well, her sister.
It would be nice to see. Would you guys do something together? You and Tenny?
It'll be mad. It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And Funke Akindele, I've loved her from day one.
Okay.
She's someone that I still,
Yeah.
so many. I just feel like there's so much happening right now. I can't believe that right now Nigerian artists are signing LPD deals with Universal Music, Sony Music, things like that. You're seeing Burner at the Grammys. It's
so
amazing.
Things that Grammys are suddenly becoming a part of conversation.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Awesome stuff. You said the Femme Fatale. When's that?
That's on the 20th of January.
28th of January. It's going to be online, I believe.
It's going to be online.
Okay.
So I'm going to put another stuff out there, Instagram, the whole works. So.
Anything else we need to look forward to? Coming soon? Singles, albums, movie?
Yeah, singles, yes.
Okay.
A single, definitely.
Okay. The movie, you said a short story?
We're writing.
Okay, you're writing.
Yeah,
but it's going to come out this year?
We're writing, by God's grace.
Is that an album this year or still a single?
Possibly a single this year. And I was hanging out with Mama one day, Joke Jacobs.
Yeah.
And she was just, giving me words, what to do and so on and so forth. So, fingers crossed.
So, looking forward to all of that. But just before we go, you've made a hit. Or you are, when I called you a legend, I wasn't joking. When you have a song that's years or sometimes decades old and is still an anthem for people.
Which
Allen
one?
Avenue.
Allen Avenue.
Ijoya comes on at parties and people are still going crazy. What's your favorite song you've ever done? Before we go.
What's my favorite song?
You've ever done?
Have I ever done?
Yeah.
My goodness. It has to be, it's a song called Passion and Pain.
Oh, okay.
Passion and Pain, but I think Ijoya, there's just something, and it's really funny, Ebuka, I don't see Ijoya as a song.
Yeah.
I've always said that Ijoya is just a gift from God. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Do you know sometimes I go on Twitter and I notice that song gets played every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Radio stations.
I'm not kidding. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? So I don't know.
That's what I say. I mean, you go to parties and it comes on and...
Yes, and people go...
Children, mothers, everybody goes crazy. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to all the great things that you'll be doing in 2021.
And looking at hanging out with you.
Please, let's do that.
And you'll be killing us of all your suits and your... gal.
Watch out for Word MC. She's back.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Take another quick break and come back. Please don't go away. All right, welcome back now. Let's switch the conversation and talk about the 2021 budget. Nigeria is currently in a recession. The economy is battling and trying to come out of it. This COVID that has also contributed to battering our economy. I'm joined now by Director of Budget, Olusegun Onigbede. Thank you very much for joining us. Very quickly, how are we going to come out of this? What's the recovery plan? Looking at the 2021 budget, are you optimistic that we're going to come out of this in Q1, Q2?
It's a big spending budget, so the federal government is putting 13.58 trillion, irrespective of the fact that revenues are not trending forward or prices have not gone beyond the $50 to $60 per barrel corridor. So it's expected that this can take us out of recession, but it's going to also depend a lot on oil pricing. If oil prices get a lift and global trade gets another lift, that means we're able to see COVID-19 slow down significantly due to increased vaccination. There's an opportunity that we can get out of recession, maybe Q3 2021, but it's not something that would happen soon. But it's not just about getting out of recession. You can get out of recession because maybe two sectors like banking and telecom sector come. So you just have to look at other sectors of the economy, agriculture, trade, real estate, manufacturing, are those sectors out of recession. because those are the sectors that really affect or impact the people most. Well, that's why sometimes it looks like we're out of reception by numbers. But by the time you dig deeper into the subsectors, you see that we are still in the weeds. So it's not an easy time and that we have found ourselves.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And, one of the most overwhelming factors for all of this is COVID. And there's been whispers around about the fact that should we go into a second lockdown because the numbers are getting crazier, death rates. So it's a battle between health and the economy for a lot of people. Can we afford another lockdown, you think? And if not, how do we, handle it if we do?
I mean, health is critical. Health is paramount. So that's a decision that has to be based on data. That has to be based on facts. If we can afford or not afford another lockdown. But something that has to be clear is that Nigeria, a lockdown, it's going to be a challenging period. Nigeria does not have a structured citizen database. So when you in the US or in the UK, when you hear things around, government is giving childcare benefits, it's providing support of government benefits, government is providing direct help to people by cash transfers. You can't holistically do that in Nigeria because we don't have a solid citizen database that actually looks at socioeconomic status and things like that. And I think that's the major reason why we can't afford it. So even if there is a lockdown, people are groaning for hunger and things, you don't even know how to pass support to them. So I think that's even my major problem. Our lack of data, is comprehensive data that is referenced around income status, residence, even around tax payment. Is some of the reasons we have to think deeply as a product of this whole pandemic. Yeah, we can't really afford a lockdown. Yeah.
So I want to talk about the budget now. And, the one thing that this government has always touted as one of their biggest strengths is infrastructure and their investments in infrastructure. We're seeing bridges being built, new airports and railways being flagged off in parts of the country. Looking at the 2021 budget, is the infrastructure allocation strong enough you think, to have an effect? And what parts of the budget do you look at and wonder why are we spending this much? On where it should be channeled probably differently before we go?
I mean, the budget looks good, but the problem with the Nigerian budget is that it's like if you have a small bread, we have a big bread and a small slice of butter, and you're trying to put a tiny slice of butter, you're putting it all over a big dough. That's what we do. Our capital investment is too fragmented. The federal government does too many projects at the same time, and that's why we don't get things. That's why you find those people by 10 years. The infrastructure investment looks sensible. Looks like we're still doing the same thing, but most of these projects have been running for close to 8 years. But what we could do is that we could be much more tighter and much more prudent and do less things and just and narrow our focus so that we know that we get 10 roads built in a year, we get 2 rail projects started, and we can get that done in 4 years. Those are the kind of situations that we need as a country right now. Infrastructure is very critical to our economic revival. We need to invest big on infrastructure. And that's one place where we can use to really excite the economy back out of recession. So I believe that the budget has done well for infrastructure, but not just done well enough because there's so many pockets of waste still around the capital investments in the budget.
Yeah. What effect do you think the opening of the borders will have, the reopening of the borders?
I mean, that's good on trade. Trade, one of the sectors people don't look well in the GDP calculations, trade sector. And the trade sector has been in negative growth for almost like the last 7 quarters, which means that the retail trade, that's why people say there's no money flowing in the economy, just because the trade, which is mostly retail and wholesale trade, not really happening as it should. And the closure of the borders are had a huge impact on all of this, especially where you have, because we don't have infrastructure around our port system, so a lot depend on the adjoining countries or the neighboring countries. We need to, so the opening of borders is that better in a better way. But we are going to look at that maybe when the GDP numbers are out. But I think this is a big one. We need more policing, and we need intelligent policing around that area. Every country struggles with this, but we just, in the US, you hear people say we're building a wall against Mexico and things like that. So people worry around illegal immigration, migration.
Yeah.
But it's also about being more intelligent around this and having some form of bilateral cooperation to really stem illicit transaction around that area. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I have so many more questions on tax, on inflation. I want to talk about borrowing because it looks like we're owing everybody and everything. But unfortunately, we've run out of time. You want to say something very quickly, one sentence?
I mean, we have to do hard things, and I mean, we have to ask hard questions. And one of those things that we can do right now is to focus strictly on investment. How do we attract domestic and external investments, and how do we also do much more around exports? We need to grow our export. We can't we use debt to fight our way out of this current crisis.
Yeah.
We'll be running into and also grow wealth. Be intentional about wealth before taxation. People that have money that you can actually tax them. So about growing the wealth, GDP, growing wealth, ensuring that people have money or are able to support their economic activity. And that's the only way we can even get taxation to move forward. I think I'll stop at that point.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully we'll come back and continue this conversation. And please do have a great Sunday.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, like I always say, you can follow the conversation on Twitter. Rubbin Minds now is the handle. Please use the hashtag Rubbin Minds when you tweet at us. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next Sunday.